Baba. Theoretically live, so. It's Wednesday, December 11th, 2019. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about manga
Manga display, huh?
manga distribution in the United States. Spotlight on. Ooh-doo-doo-doo. All right. Go for it.
All right, so we were at a little PAX Unplugged over the weekend.
Yeah, a little PAX Unplugged right before a bunch of other PAXs.
Yeah, which is in my least favorite city. Well,
I like how you tried to start a fight with the people in the crowd.
I know. That's my plan.
The good news is Philadelphia.
In fact, props to them for not throwing anything at me, which is what they usually do.
Oh, yeah, because I had all the batteries on stage.
It's even really close to Christmas time, their favorite time to throw shit.
It was, my favorite moment was when Scott was like, fuck Philadelphia, and half the crowd's like, fuck you!
And
like,
I'm just
instantly.
like, all right,
Well,
that's how it's gotta be.
Well, because my point there was, I like a city I can fight with more than like DC. Like I have this grudging respect for, and they're like, "Oh, I guess you're a real city."
I'm just
too.
indifferent towards DC,
yeah,
like
grudging
whatever.
Respect, depending. But Philly, I can just have a fight with.
Yeah, at least DC, right? Most of the population, regardless of your feelings toward their racist sports team or other things, are honorable public servants. The elected ones are usually a problem, but the appointed and federal employees are usually
bureaucrats,
hardworking, good peoples.
Bureaucrats are mostly okay,
right? Yeah, the contractors and stuff, lobbyists, there's all the bad people too, right? But whatever.
Oh, I do have some batteries. I could huck one at you if you missed out on getting a battery hucked at you.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. No, so while we were there, right? Rim decided to pay $1 zillion and take Amtrak to get there.
$58.
Yeah.
Like, not that much more.
I paid like $10.
Yeah.
Take a little bus.
But we stayed
And the
late.
bus and the train land at the... No, they land. They come out of the sky. Right? No, they stop at the same place because the bus stop is literally in front of the Amtrak train station, right?
In New York, where is it? Just over by the TikTok diner? Still?
No, it's near Javits. You take the 7.
Oh.
I mean, actually, there's more than one, but that's the one we went to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because we took the late train, like the 9:40 p.m. train, because we went to a long dinner with everybody after PAX.
Anyway. So, on the way in, right, it's like, I don't know where the hell anything fucking is in Philadelphia.
Which is weird to me. And
why would I know where anything is there?
I was making fun of you for it at the con, partly because, like, I don't know a lot about, like, every city on Earth, but any place I go, I have a vague idea of the geography. Like I know generally what's what's west, what's uptown and downtown.
I know the local geography of where, like, the area around where I was. Like even at Boston, right? It's like I know the geography of if I walk in a place, then I know where I was when I walked, right? So I know around the Hines.
I'm talking like Philly. There's Center City, like 2 order away from Center City. Like, like I know the.
I don't know anything about that.
Like Boston, I know where Southie is. Like I know like the.
I imagine it's south.
That's actually where PAX East is.
Okay. Well, anyway, I know where I walk, right? It's like in Seattle, I walked over like most of Seattle. That's why I know my way around, and I've done it so many times. So
I've gone up that hill.
Right. And I've ridden the light rail, which I can see out the window, and that sort of let me know the general relation of some things, right, in Seattle. But in like Philly, it's like, all right, well, I know there's the train station, and I know where things are around the convention center, but I don't know. In between is just like black, empty space. It's like a RTS, and it's all black, right?
The train station only that town.
I didn't know it. Anyway, all I know is where I've walked and removed the fog of war.
I don't know how you go to a city and not know like basic things about that city.
But anyway, so yeah, like Rim was saying, he made fun of me because I used a cab to go from the train to the con.
When there is both
to navigate the fog of war zone.
When there is but one.
Quickly and with low effort.
There is a subway line that goes from the train station to the convention.
So you made fun of me.
Connected to our hotel, and there's a trolley line that runs like every 3 minutes that also goes between those two places.
All right, so you made fun of me for that. So on the way home, we go down into the subway or trolley or whatever the hell, down into whatever.
We used it to get to the train station that night.
All right, and we looking around, and I'm like, all right, we try to figure it out.
All right, so you buy a ticket.
So we go to the ticket machine.
Yep.
The ticket machine has 2 options.
Yep.
We push the option on the left. It does not, none of the choices, there were 3 choices after pushing that one. None of them were to buy an individual ride. The cheapest one was a full day pass for $6. And I'm like, that is not right.
So
I chose the one on the right, and that was for refilling some kind of other pass.
Just get a pass. It's like a Metro card. It just works.
None of the options on the screen were to get a single ride pass. They were all more than the $275 that was promised.
There are different machines that are aimed at tourists that sell the single ride, like magnetic stripe. There was
only one kind of machine in that specific place that we were.
In fact, that is not true.
Well, first one, there were only one kind of machine in the spot that we
rides there.
In the spot that we were. There was only one kind of machine.
So
they had all the same thing.
Went into Grand Central, went to a random like Metro card only machine, and couldn't figure out how to buy a ticket.
Then we went to Amanda had the same problem too. We could not figure out.
You could have just bought the Philly equivalent of a Metro card and put like $1 or $2 on it, and would have been good to go.
That was not clear how to do this, and not without buying the only option I could find that was not a zillion way too expensive was a $6 day pass.
You are never allowed to make fun of tourists having trouble with the Metro
Amanda
card
couldn't
again.
figure it out either. Why are you making fun of me like I'm stupid? I'm saying
this was not hard. And
I'm saying we are not stupid. I'm saying the Philly system is as awful as I said it was. I'm right.
I'm saying I use those same machines.
Are you saying Amanda's stupid also? She couldn't figure it out.
You two definitely have a problem with.
We couldn't figure out how to buy a single ride ticket. We could not figure out which side of the map was on the wall was like some partial map that didn't show like a map of the city. It just showed like a line and some dots, and it didn't say which one we were at, or we couldn't tell which one we were going to. We couldn't tell which direction was east or west. We couldn't tell.
It says on the platform.
We looked on the platform. We couldn't tell which side of the platform was going east or west, or whether we should be going east or west, or what kind of train was coming to that platform.
All I'm saying is you just sound like a tourist, and I don't know why you had all these problems.
I'm saying that the system was garbage.
We used the subway to get back and forth. We also used the subway to go to the restaurant, which was east in the other side of the city.
Well,
and then we took it from there back to the hotel and then back to the train station.
The Philly public transit is garbage and has awful design.
All right. I don't understand how you had these problems because I use the exact same
Amanda
station.
had also had these problems. So, and there are also other people coming in who also couldn't figure out what the fuck to do. And they had a booth with no one in it to ask for help.
Okay. So you are never allowed to make fun of people in New York having trouble with the Metro Cards machine.
Metro Card is very well designed and has no problems.
I think they're equal. And in fact, actually, the Philly system is pretty easier to use.
Yeah, okay. I'll go. Next time I go down there, I'll take a video. I'll make a video comparison of the Metro Card machine versus whatever fucking machine they had down there.
Okay.
And a Metro Card machine, it's like, buy Metro Card, one ride, boom, done. There was no one ride choice on that screen and any of the menu options.
Scott, you realize New York is phasing out the one ride, and they charge a premium for that. It costs more than buying a normal Metro Card and filling up.
I was taking one ride for the whole year. I want to pay $275. There was no $270. That was what was promised. One ride for $275. There was no option on that screen for a single $275 ride.
You realize New York
anywhere. I navigated every menu on the device.
Scott, you realize in New York you have to pay an extra $1 to get a Metro Card.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing. But the point is, there was no.
You could have just spent the extra. It's like $1.20.
There was no option.
Buy the equivalent of a Metro
There
card.
was no. I navigated every menu. There was not a single menu option to pay $275 for one ride.
In my wallet that I bought from one of those machines like 3 years ago.
There was no option on that in any menu on that machine to buy one ride.
Scott, like I said. The one ride machines that sell a paper ticket, those are only used by tourists. That's an important part of the station. I've used them. They're there.
There was also no option to buy a card with one ride on it.
Yeah, there is. I did so. And also,
I see that you have the card, but I'm telling you, 2 intelligent people tried to use this machine, even if it was possible to get that card from the machine. The design of the machine and the design of the system was to blame. We could not figure it out.
I think that's really funny.
I
don't understand what your problem was.
I think it is an awful garbage public transit system, so we had plenty of time, so we walked.
All right. I think the Philly transit system is great.
I think it's trash, and their whole city's trash. Burn it down, but they seem to do that on purpose, so I don't have to really encourage them.
I would say that Philly probably has the 3rd best transit system in America.
Well, I mean, that's like saying, oh, the 3rd least smelly diarrhea.
I would also say that Philly's subway...
Even the New York subway, which is great, is garbage compared to actual transit in other countries.
But I'm saying...
So So if you're third best, that's like, wow, you're worse than the garbage that's tolerable.
But I'm also saying that Philly's is better than Boston's, and it's way better than DC's.
I'd say it's equal to Boston's, probably.
What? Have you ever used Boston sucks ass?
It does, and Philly also sucks ass.
Well, maybe if you couldn't figure it out for some reason.
I can't figure out fucking the T either. You go down there, try to buy a Charlie card, and it's like the machines don't spit. You can't even find machines.
I've never had a problem like that.
I've had the same problems in Boston. You like try to get a Charlie card, stations don't have a machine. You gotta be like,
Scott, I've used the T a bunch of times.
I have used it.
Not a problem.
I have used it. I've used it with you.
Yeah, and I've had no problems with it.
It's bad. It sucks.
The only problems with the Boston T is that it doesn't go anywhere that I want to go, and that transferring between lines is usually like a 40-mile walk in an underground tunnel. But other than those two problems, the machines, the ticketing, that all works fine.
It also doesn't run late.
Yeah, Philly's does. So again, Philly better.
Also, I don't know, you said the thing comes every 3 minutes. The whole time, the many minutes we were down there trying to figure it out,
that sounds
nothing came.
That's because you went to the fucking subway that runs every 11 minutes, as opposed to the trolley that's on another track right there that runs every 3 or 4 minutes.
We could not tell the difference between a trolley or a subway because
one of the many maps.
The labeling of the system and the maps were so awful they were incomprehensible.
I'd say they're actually easier to read than the New York ones.
No,
you're just blinded by the fact that you've studied the New York one a lot. I guess you can't use the
New York one is much more comprehensible and well designed in its typography and maps. You never see like a map in the New York City subway that just shows a yellow line for the N and doesn't actually have a picture of New York behind it.
Yeah, Scott, that's what's in the actual subway cars. That strip at the top that just shows the line?
Yes, I'm saying before I even get on. Imagine if that's all you saw.
Yeah, Scott, there are just normal maps.
That's useless if you're not already on the train.
Scott, there's normal maps.
We did not see one.
Well, again, I know for a fact they're there.
It also, and the thing we saw did not even indicate which station we were at.
Okay. That was on like every sign when you go in.
All right, well, next time we go there, let's go in for a next Unplugged. We'll go down into the little subway, and you can explain it to me.
Okay.
Because two intelligent adults could not figure it out. It is not me.
I will gladly teach you how to ride subways.
Yeah,
that is what you were
I know how to ride subways. I just don't know where the fuck I'm going or how the hell the Philly subway is designed because it's designed by a crazy person.
All I'm going to say is one. I think you just only know how to ride the New York transit system and literally can't deal with it anywhere else on Earth.
I think that other places on Earth are just really shitty.
Two, I
blame the system. I don't blame the rider.
I can't wait to see you try to ride the Tokyo subway.
I'm sure it'll show up
or
perfectly
the Paris
on time.
Underground,
and
the London Underground.
I've seen signs in Tokyo, and I know that the train also has words in English, so I should be able to ride it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to buy a ticket because the Tokyo system is not as well documented in like outside. It kind of assumes you know more about it. The Philly one has a whole bunch of signs and things to help you everywhere.
Philly one did not have helpful signs. They had incomprehensible signs.
I feel like I need to go down there and make like a POV video of like, oh, look, another map of the subway station. Let's walk to, oh, look, another map of the subway station. What's that?
I'll show you what we saw down there.
Also, you could have just asked Google if you'd put in Google.
We looked at Google, and it was not helpful because Google told us, it was like, oh, take any of these green numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
They all stop at the same platform.
There were no numbers there at the platform to tell us that these numbers are showing up in this place or which direction they were going. We were in a green place. It's like, okay, we're in a green place.
No, you weren't, because what you fucking said, that you said you waited that long, you were waiting for the MFL. You were not waiting for the trolley. You were in a different part of the subway station.
There was no explanation of how are you even supposed to know what we were waiting for. Google Maps said MFL on it. The letters MFL did not appear in the station we were in. That is why we could not match up what Google Maps said with what the fuck was going on, because the things that were labeled on Google Maps were not labels that appeared anywhere in the station.
You realize Google Maps says, like, go to this platform, get on the train that says it's going here, it arrives at this time? Does your Apple Google Maps not do that?
That is not what we saw on Google Maps.
Does your
Google Maps had a list of, had a green strip with several numbers, and it said, get on one of these numbers. There were none of those numbers appeared in the station.
Scott, New York, the 4, 5, and 6 all go to crazy fucking different places.
Yeah, but if you go in the station says 4, 5, 6 on it. This is like if I looked at Google Maps and it said 4, 5, 6, and I went up to the station and all it said was Lexington Avenue and didn't actually say 4, 5, or 6 on the station. Well, how do I fucking know if a 4, 5, or 6 station?
I think you just hate mass transit and are bad at it.
Imagine if I removed all of the colored numbers and letters from the the subway and only had names only. But yet on Google Maps, there were when you search for things, there would be the colored circles
Scott,
and numbers and letters.
Is I was able to, for 3 years in a row, go to Philly, go down into that subway, buy a ticket.
Well, congratulations.
Get on the subway.
We were not. Right? We are not stupid. The system is garbage. Just because you can successfully navigate a garbage system doesn't make it not a garbage system.
I think you can't navigate subways. I think you can only navigate the New York City subway.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. You have said things that are objectively not true about that station.
They are extremely true about that station. Then how come Amanda couldn't do it either? Are you calling Amanda stupid as me?
You both had a problem with it.
Are you
somehow.
saying that she is stupid?
I didn't say anyone was stupid. I'm saying
That seems to be what you're saying. Oh, that we must be stupid. If either we're stupid or the system's broken, you can't be on one or the other.
I think you had some problem that is not common to everyone else.
That meanwhile, other people in the station were all equally confused.
Were they just tourists? Because I see thousands.
I saw many people come in. Anyone else in that station was also confused and couldn't figure out how to use that machine.
They were probably all tourists like you. I see thousands of confused people in the New York subway every day. They're all tourists.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were just a tourist and you couldn't use the subway.
Yeah, if they removed all the letters and numbers from the stations, but those letters and numbers appeared on Google Maps, how the fuck would you know if you're in a 6 station?
Because it says all over the place what the station is.
Right, but imagine if it didn't. You looked at Google Maps and it said take the 6, and when you go to the station, there are no 6s anywhere. How do you know that you're in the fucking 6 station?
I mean, yes.
How do you know the 6 is coming here?
Yes, in a made-up situation where
you mean exactly what happened in the Philly subway, where Google said all these numbers on it. Take one of these numbered trains, and none of those numbers are on the station anywhere. So I don't know if I'm in the fucking right station.
All right.
And Google Maps didn't say to go east or west, so I couldn't tell. And I couldn't tell if I was on the east or west side of the track because it was so mislabeled.
Scott, you didn't know which direction was east or west down there?
It did. It was unlabeled. It did not say this. Like in New York City subway, you go down. It says this is uptown track. Other side is downtown track. There was no such label in the station telling you which side of the track was up or downtown,
Scott,
or east or west.
All I'm gonna say is those signs are definitely there.
Those signs were not there. I looked all over.
Okay. Anyway, in anime news, so Studio Trigger is coming out. They've announced like right away, right on the heels of Promare. We don't know a lot of details yet. I think they did the initial announcement at Anime Expo, but there's going to be a new Trigger anime called BNA.
I mean, they pretty much just continuously make shows one after the other, right? It seems like it feels like almost they've got like a parallel processing going on where like they make a movie and they got like a team on a movie and a team on a show. And when the show's coming out, they're working on the next thing. And like it's just like a constant production going on, which is, I guess, how you have to overwork people to make money in anime is just constantly put things out. If you have a gap where you're not putting anything out, you're not making any money to pay anyone during that time, right?
So here's what we know. It is called BNA, which stands for Brand New Animal. It is straight up it's a furry show.
Furry shows are in. That Beastars thing is hot. I haven't checked it out yet, though.
Yeah. Looks like there's maybe she's a raccoon girl. I can't quite tell. There's some sort of wolf guy. Looks like they're putting their good people on it.
I mean, all their people are good people. Do they have bad people?
So let's see. They listed a whole bunch of people who are.
Is there any bad people in Trigger?
I'm sure there are out there somewhere.
What did they put out that's no good?
There's got to be like a B team.
I mean, some of it's better than others, right? But like, have they put out anything bad?
No, they definitely have not.
Okay, so there you go.
I'm pretty excited about this.
When's it actually going to be out?
Let's see. It's not clear yet, actually. They've just announced that it exists. It's going to be on Fuji TV Plus Ultra in 2020.
Okay, so you got a while.
That's all we know.
No rush.
So we'll see how this goes. I'm just assuming it's going to be great.
It's not. Is it based on anything existing, or is it completely original?
I have no idea.
Like, is there already a brand new animal manga?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs on this article, 2 of which are just like one sentence.
I imagine it is then not based on an existing thing, because they would have mentioned that existing thing and linked to it.
Yep, it looks like it's just its own thing. They have a script writer. It's the Kill La Kill script writer.
Mm-hmm. All right, so. This is sort of it's not really a news or I guess kind of a geek bite. I don't fucking know how to describe what I'm about to talk about. So
you're talking about something.
Yeah, so there's some nerds in New York City, right, who are like, one of them's even like a professor, like the main person is like a professor-y, like a manga professor person who like teaches somewhere, I don't even know. Somewhere in the city, like classes like about manga, like studying, there's always that professor at college who's teaching all the weird stuff, right? With a small class somewhere, the thing that they're just really interested in it personally. And since they're a professor, they can do classes on it, right?
Yep.
You know that. Everyone who's been to college knows about that professor, right? So they run this club that I found out about called the Manga Reading and Research Network, right? So I went, some of its meetings were literally a block away from here. This place where we're recording, right? So I went to those meetings in 2017, 2 years ago. They then had a couple meetings in downtown Manhattan. So I didn't go to those because those are far away. But then they had another meeting a block away from here, suddenly in 2019. So a club that started in May of 2017 had its last meeting in November 2018. So it hasn't met for a year. Suddenly had a meeting a block away from here again in 2019. I thought it was dead, but then I got an email. And the reason I went, Emily went also, is it was a special meeting. Usually most of the other meetings were like read a manga, show up, and then talk about the manga, right? This meeting, they had an actual editor of actual manga whose current job is editor of manga at Weekly Young Magazine, which is it's not like a, it's not a Shueisha Shonen Jump level, but it's like that's the magazine Akira was in, right?
Yeah.
So
sad I missed this. It sounds like it was fun.
It's a big time, editor of real current mangas to come and talk to us. The dude was in New York. We submitted questions. They asked him the questions. He asked us questions. It was a good time. I learned a lot of interesting stuff. We saw some interesting mangas we didn't know about that are in that magazine. I read, there was a sampler for this one called Starving Anonymous, which is sort of in that horror / terrible secret of a space genre. And then he talked about one that he's editing also, which is, it's like Witch and Beast, I think is what it's called.
Ooh.
And it's sort of like a Beauty and Beast reversal where there's this girl who's the beast and she's trying to kill all the witches, and each witch has like a different magic power of some kind. But I guess it's probably still has some fighting tournament aspects to it, right? Go to the next witch kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it was an interesting time. And so if you're in New York, you should, see if this thing ever meets again. Maybe next year it'll have a meeting. Who knows, right? You never know. And show up to it.
Go.
Yeah, there's there's bunch
if I wasn't like in Asia on this like big work trip, I definitely would have gone.
Right, bunch of weebs will show up and you can learn about some mangas. All right.
Actually, was I in London during this?
I don't know.
I was somewhere.
I don't know. If this ever happens again, show up. And otherwise, it gave us the show idea for today because the guy was asking about, how to distribute mangas digitally. So.
Yep. We'll get into the main bit because the alternative was I wanted to review Beavis and Butthead, but Scott doesn't remember it that well.
I haven't seen a Beavis and Butthead since I can't even remember when I saw it. That's how long ago it was.
So I feel like we will need to watch more Beavis and Butthead.
And I'm pretty sure you've seen all of it repeatedly.
Oh, yeah. I watched it like on TV from the beginning.
Right.
I was probably too young.
I've watched episodes here and there. Definitely not even all of it.
Like the family would sit around and watch Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, no, we did not do that.
I saw the Beavis and Butthead movie in the theater. That movie is phenomenal.
I did not do that.
I feel like we should you should watch the movie at some point, like this year
Why?
or next year. Because
I got better movies to watch than the Beavis and Butthead.
The Beavis and Butthead movie is an underrated film. It is really funny.
Oh, you're saying it's a solid poop and not a diarrhea.
Oh, I would say that it is a standout solid movie.
It's a Godfather. Watch out, Godfather. Beavis and Butthead movie's coming.
It's the Godfather of Beavis and Butthead movie. Like, if you take all the content of Beavis and Butthead, the Beavis and Butthead movie is like the height of what that could be, and it is laugh out loud hilarious.
Uh-huh.
Also, that quote, that never gonna sure thing that we played at the hockey games.
I know that is from that movie.
It is from that movie.
I'm aware.
So, in some other brief news, anime cons, have their artist alleys. And I saw a kind of interesting internet kerfuffle because the problem with artist alleys at anime cons as time goes on is that a lot of people make it a professional, necessary part of their lives and treat it very seriously.
Well, I think even if it's not a necessary part of your life, right? There's so many conflicting things going on in an artist alley, right?
I mean, they were originally mostly in comic cons for like in America, like a comic con would have the person working on Spider-Man will sit there and sign things for money.
Right. It was also for independent comic creators or people who are just right. It's like you could sell your art. You're an artist, right? Your name is on comic books or whatever, right? But you're not at a exhibitor booth, right? Like at a Comic-Con, the expo floor wouldn't be where artists would sit, right? And do commissions and that sort of thing. It would be where people were selling comics, right? It was like mostly merch booths, collector booths, right? That sort of thing, right? And then the actual artists would sit in the Artist Alley. So anime cons, which spawned from Comic Cons, had Artist Alley, but it wasn't full of actual anime artists, right? It was full of fan artists. So you got the fan art issue going on, right? But you've also got the issue these days in that there's so many fan artists, and the anime cons, even though they're past their heyest of heydays, they're still huge. And if you have a table in an Artist Alley, whether you are depending on your income level, you may depend on this money or not, you can, if your art is good, you can make a lot of money on an Artist Alley table.
Yep.
It doesn't cost a lot to get the table, and you can sell a lot of merch if you have a table.
But most of that merch is technically violating copyrights.
Right. So that's that issue. There's tax
People
issues.
are not paying taxes.
You could do tons. There's so many topics.
We've talked about this a lot.
You could do a podcast like I think there are Artist Alley podcasts that talk about Artist Alley issues, and you could make an episode a week for like ever and never run out of things to talk about, right?
Yep.
And you like in your news part, you could talk about like the next con coming up and what they're doing. You could just go forever. But
so I saw on Twitter, like randomly, like I saw a bunch of controversy, like people were referring to
right. Pretty much anytime any Artist Alley does opens or does something weird or changes anything, the people who are going in that Artist Alley, go crazy about it, positively or negatively, because it's a big deal. Because, for the people going to the con, they don't even know this is happening.
Yep.
But for the people who are in that alley, a lot of money is at stake.
Yep.
Right? In
And
terms
here's
of
the-
whether they get or don't get a table, and the rules around what they can sell and all those
Yep.
things
But
are
meanwhile,
huge deals for
like,
those people.
companies, like real vendors, like the people who are like selling like legit goods that aren't in an Artist Alley, they don't have any of these hassles because they just like have a contract relationship with the convention.
Well,
There's
because
no,
the difference is that if you want to be a dealer at an anime con, you just pay.
you
pay
buy a dealer booth.
You buy expo space by the foot from their grid of space, and they're happy to sell it to you.
Yep.
There
Or
is-
depending
there-
on the
there-
con, like I won't share the details of how PAX works, and also it might have changed because I haven't tried to buy expo hall space at a PAX in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes you'll like have a rep who like works with you to fit you in the right spot. at
Right.
the
But I
con.
mean, the point is that doesn't usually sell out, and if it does sell out, the con raises their rates, right, in that area. The Artist Alley, to keep it viable, right, as a thing, because it's definitely a draw for fans. You don't want to get rid of it. It brings it sells badges, right? People would be very upset and not come to your con if you didn't have one.
Yep.
Or if it wasn't any good.
Though,
right?
counterpoint, having run conventions and seen like the stuff, like not for nothing, and I'm not going to name the con that I'm referring to, and it's not the one you might all be thinking of. Shutting down the Artist Alley at that con would probably have solved a lot of the problems the con had.
Maybe. But anyway, the point is, you're running the con, right? The Artist Alley, you need to charge a low flat rate for the tables, and no one can buy more than one or two tables, right? There's like a limit,
Yep.
right? You're either buying a one tabler or a two tabler, right? You can't like let someone make a mega booth in there, otherwise it's just more expo space, right? You have to have a flat rate, and you need some other system of decide if the demand to go to those tables is high. You need some sort of system to distribute the limited supply, just like you do with badges at a sold-out con. Right? You have so many people who want Artist Alley tables because it's basically you're handing out thousands of dollars, hundreds or thousands of dollars to people.
Yep.
Right? In exchange for, like, I don't know what an Artist Alley table costs these days. Hundreds, maybe?
Last time I paid for one, it was $70.
Right. That's pretty cheap, I think.
Yep.
But the point is, you're selling these extremely cheap tickets, each of which, if someone gets one, if they have art and merch to sell, which they probably do, will, net them a great profit. And more people want them than, right? So your choice
Yep,
if
it's just like badges. The supply is way lower than the demand.
right, and if you raise the price, well, then people are going to be super pissed and not buy them because they'll be right. It's like we're not. It's just they'll just be more expo hall then. It won't be at Artist Alley, right? So rather than raise the price, you got to do a lottery, or you got to do a first come first serve, or you got to do something, right? and none of it's fair. And as the con,
Well,
you just want there to have to
arguably the random like F5 system is as fair as it's gonna get unless you raise the prices.
Somewhat fair, right? But like the con just wants it to be easy, right, and to work and to fill their artist alley
But
with,
also, I
with
think
great art.
There's a fundamental
and the
underlying
artist,
point.
but the artist people, they all want them to get a table.
This is the
right?
problem. Same with badges and hotels at cons. Artist alley is the same thing. There is no way to make the artist happy because there is no solution. You cannot make enough space for all of them. If you did make enough space, so everyone who wants the table got one, there'd be so many artists that the artists themselves wouldn't make money. I have data from another con, again, not the one you might be thinking of, where I looked at dealer space, and it turned out that when they expanded the dealer room, the individual dealers all made a lot less money. So they actually shrunk the dealer hall, kicked out half the dealers, and then the dealers who got in made 2 to 3 times more money.
Right, because even if
everyone's selling,
right, because I mean, you could have had the bigger one and lowered the prices, right, and that would have still netted the convention about the same money. It's
But
like,
the
all right, well,
dealers
it's
weren't
like, all right, well, we'll sell more tables for cheaper. Right, but it's like no, the dealer needs to make a certain, it's like okay, well the dealer's profit margin is the same. It's like no, they need a certain amount of money to cover their flat costs of shipping, right?
Yep.
Travel, lodging, etc.
So all these clustering issues. Not to turn this into a whole show, I basically saw a bunch of people on Twitter referring to the Otakon Artist Alley controversy, and I expected it to be one of these.
Isn't that something that happens just every year?
Yeah, so I expected this. I expected something along the lines of all the things we just talked about had like gone down. But then I went and looked into it, and the controversy was simply that Otakon made a little puzzle, like a flash game, and they put it out there, and if you solved the puzzle, it told you what day the Artist Alley table registration link was going to open, and that was it. That was literally the extent of the controversy.
So they just made an announcement in a cute way.
Yep.
Or in a way that they thought was cute and fun.
Good fucking God, are people outraged about this on the internet?
Okay.
Because it trivialized the Artist Alley.
Okay.
Yep.
That reeks to me of someone who just wants to be mad and is looking for a reason to be mad.
I looked around Twitter, like I searched for like Otakon AA, and I was looking at the threads and the discourse, and I realized that level of reaction seems to be the same literally no matter what happens. I feel like that's the same amount of discourse that happens just when the date gets announced anyway. Except people were mad about the puzzle, but if they didn't do the puzzle, people would have been mad about the date, and then the system, and then the announcement, and then we didn't get a table. I feel like the amount of drama remains constant regardless of all other factors.
Right, and it's like even if you were to choose, make all your decisions to make one person perfectly happy, someone else would be super angry.
Yep.
Right?
So this is the same reason why it's so hard to get a hotel at like MAGFest or PAX East. Like it's all the same problem.
Yep.
So I think we've gone really long on the news, so I think we should probably just get into... I'll save my Geek Bites for another time. There's a lot of Geek Bites. I gotta close. Do. Things of the day. What do you got for me?
So we're well into hockey season, right? We're actually pretty scarily deep in hockey season.
You asked me a few weeks ago. I had a more positive opinion of the current hockey season than I do right now.
Anyway, so here is a really great video somebody posted. Like, when did they post this? Even if they posted it, no, I think very recently, like a few days ago. But yeah, this is a video of something that doesn't happen very often in hockey. It's so rare that they were able to compile every instance of this ever happening in the NHL history on video. I guess every time it was recorded. I'm pretty sure it's every time it's ever happened.
It hasn't happened that many times. This is really hard
It's
to pull
only
off.
like a 6-minute video, and it's a recording of every single time a goalie has scored a goal, most of the time by shooting for the empty net when the other team pulls the goalie at the end of the game.
There's only 2 ways this can happen, because it is effectively impossible for the goalie to score a goal against another goalie directly, partly because they changed the rules in the NHL to say, and this was a while ago, that goalies are not allowed to cross the center line. That used to not be a rule. They made a rule, not for the reasons you'd think. They made the rule because goalies actually did it a lot. and one dude in particular did it a lot. He just like skate to the other side and like try to help a play, and he kept getting hurt. Goalies got hurt, and NHL really does not want there to be a game where there aren't enough goalies to continue the game, for reasons we've talked about before. So the only way to get a goal as a goalie is to shoot for the empty net, which is a huge risk because if you miss, it's an icing, usually. Or get a technicality where you are technically the last one to touch the puck, and then the other team scored an own goal.
Right, getting an assist as a goalie is pretty easy. You make a long pass to someone who then goes in for the shot, right? Or, you pass to someone who passes to someone who scores, right? That happens. Goalies get assists now and then. I've seen it in person. Getting a goal, it's got to be some crazy fluke or something for that to happen. So, but yeah, here's a video showing every time an NHL goalie in a real NHL game has scored a goal.
I remember Chris Osgood doing it. He's also notable for charging out of the goal and fucking drilling somebody one time and taking a penalty for it. So my thing today, speaking of Beavis and Butthead, most of the time if you try to find like episodes of Beavis and Butthead or things, like you'll just find the cartoon, but that wasn't really the best part of Beavis and Butthead. The whole point of Beavis and Butthead was that the little cartoons were just these really simple short framing stories by Mike Judd, but most of the show was basically the Beavis and Butthead characters MST3King music videos because it was on MTV. The station that ostensibly for a little while showed music videos. So I found on YouTube, this is probably super like bootleg. I surely get taken down at some point. This is just an episode of Beavis and Butthead. I want to say it was from like 93 or 94. And I remember this episode because we watched it like live on TV. This was the Beavis and Butthead Christmas special. And it has the music videos intact, which is kind of like Muppet Babies.
How is it not taken down?
I assume it'll get taken down at some point. It was uploaded like less than 3 weeks ago. So watch it while you can. This will tell you if Beavis and Butthead is the kind of humor you would enjoy or not. And you're going to see a side of Beavis and Butthead that most younger people have never seen. They've never seen them just like reacting to music videos, kind of like how most kids have never seen Muppet Babies just reenacting Star Wars with clips of Star Wars interspersed. In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book. We're probably going to do the first chapter at some point pretty early next year. Or not the first chapter, but like the first third, the first bit. Pick a stopping point. Tale of Genji, we're still reading it. I'm almost done with that World War I book that I started reading instead and got really into, but I'm almost done with it now. So I'm going to go back to this. We were just at PAX Unplugged. We did 2 panels. I'm going to edit the video together and try to get them on YouTube like by this weekend.
We're about to go to MAGFest,
where we are doing a bunch of panels. They sent me the draft schedule. I got to like confirm.
They sent me a link and I clicked on it and it went to an error.
Well, the problem is we're doing panels and Mages panels, and I might be doing a third thing for a different group, and our panels are split between 2 3. It's complicated.
The point is I clicked on a link and I got an error, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, well, as long as you get your badge, that's all that matters.
I will get the badge.
As Scott and I, we split our duties. Since I am the producer of GeekNights, one of my jobs, like Scott actually makes sure the website keeps working. Like
barely.
Barely. Stay tuned on that. There's changes coming to the website and the forum, but basically, Scott's the one who has to deal with me if I message him at 11:59, and I'm like, Scott, the post didn't fucking work, because I'm not going to deal with that, and I have to deal with all the convention logistics. So I'm sorting out our schedule for MAGFest. We also do know our schedule. We're doing at least 1 panel at PAX South, the 41 tabletop games you should play, which is 41 different games that we've never talked about in a panel
Can we
before.
stop doing this panel every time?
It's really popular, and I think it's a really good, important panel.
I don't think it's that important.
Do you want to be the producer of GeekNights, and I'll take over the sysadmin?
I think I could just not do a clickbait panel. We got plenty of other panel ideas.
Yeah, I submit a lot of panels, but at the same time, I have to balance with each convention and the rep I work with in the convention what they think will draw a crowd, like what they need that year, where the gaps are in their programming. It's a whole thing. This isn't just submit panels, get responses. I have a lot of conversations with convention people that you do not have to do.
Well, I could talk to them and be like, hey, I really don't want to do clickbait. Let me do something erudite.
I've had those conversations. That's why we kind of alternate. You notice, like, at PAXs, like, sometimes we go to PAX and we do, like...
I just like, look, it's PAX. You're selling the same... You're not selling any... We're not selling you any badges, right? We're just, filling some seats.
Yeah, but there's, like... One example is sometimes the con needs counter-programming to another popular thing, as I got to figure out, like, what could draw a crowd away from that other thing that's going to fill up anyway.
Well, just tell me what that other thing is, and I will talk about something that is a different topic, so that way...
So at PAX Unplugged, it was an Inc. thing.
All right, so I can either do something I could either target Ack Inc., right, and try to do RPG stuff that will bring those people over, right? Or I could try to do something completely opposite of RPG people so that no non-RPG people will go and try to get Ack Inc. seats.
But anyway, stay tuned for us at PAX South, at MAGFest, at PAX East, and then I think we actually have ZenkaiCon, and then I think we actually have a break. Scott might not go to ZenkaiCon because I guess he won't be able to figure out how to take the Amtrak.
I mean, I can take the Amtrak, but Penn Station is also garbage, but for other reasons. But
Penn Station,
it's not the reason I won't go to ZenkaiCon.
Like, I respect you more than Scott, but I live in New York, so I only can respect you so much. But I will agree, as a New Yorker, Penn Station is a fucking shithole.
Of course it is.
Our Penn Station... God, the only thing sadder than the New York City Penn Station is the New York City Port Authority bus terminal.
Penn Station is all shitty because that's where the New Jersey leaks in.
Yeah, the Path. I would say that about Path more.
Path is also bad.
Yeah, Path is bad for other reasons. So, manga distribution.
Right. So this manga editor, he comes over, and he's asking us like, hey, right, if we're going to do manga digital distribution, right, what are you guys willing to pay? What would that look like? Right. He couldn't give such detailed answers. There was only so much time. There were a lot of people there. It was like 10 times as many people as at all the previous meetings, which only had like 5 people.
Yeah.
But, let's just talk about it in general, right? So in Japan, right, manga goes in these magazines. The magazine is like $2. It's like $4 maybe. It's super cheap. It's huge. It's like Computer Shopper was back in the day. There's one chapter each of many, 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 many mangas in there, like 20 plus different mangas. It would be like if you went to the comic book store and you got every single Marvel comic book that came out in a whole month, but bound together into a single volume for $4, whereas instead you're getting one floppy for $4.
And to a point, kind of disposable.
Right. It's also on much shittier paper and black and white and has ads in it. But I guess, you pay $4 for a Spider-Man copy, you're getting 20 pages of Spider-Man with ads in it in color on fancy paper, right? So take that Spider-Man, put it on shitty paper in black and white, keep the ads in, and combine it with all the X-Men comics and the Avengers comics and the Iron Man comics and the Fantastic Four comics and all of them together in one bound volume for the price of one floppy. And that's what they do in Japan. But then they combine all the chapters of each manga together into the tankobon, which is what we read in the U.S. when you go to Barnes & Noble or whatever, or Amazon, and you buy a volume for $10, you're actually getting 8-10 chapters worth all together.
I remember as a kid, figuring some of this out. I remember, manga was not really available in the U.S. when I was really into anime. So, I was able to get some fan subs, and I could get, some anime, but manga, was not in stores. There were not good ways to get it. And I remember the first time I finally found some manga, and it was a big book, and I was trying to figure out which, issues of this manga were in the book, because there weren't really internet resources to figure that out either back then.
Hell no. Right? So, in Japan, that's how they do it. In the U.S., we just do the tankobons only, right? There have been attempts to do the magazine. I think you can get some sort of Shonen Jump subscription. You can get, right?
It's interesting because I know a lot of American anime fans really said, oh, if they just sold Shonen Jump in the U.S., I would definitely pay for it. Kind of if New
Well,
Type
the
was
thing
in
is,
the US.
even when they did, or if they still do, right, it was not the same. It wasn't, right, the full Shonen Jump. It wasn't the huge fat magazine with a shit ton of manga in it for $4, right?
Meanwhile, the opposite
it was
problem.
right. There was Animerica at one point, and it was it was a it was a smaller magazine that had fewer titles in it and didn't come out weekly and wasn't $4. It was more expensive for less content.
Well, it's the opposite of
right?
when New Type came out. It was exactly the same as in Japan, and people realized once they could read it that it's stupid.
Yes, that was a different story entirely.
Yep.
Right, but I mean, if they really did sell the full freaking magazine, the big fat boy, for the low ass price in English, that might draw turn some heads, I think. But no one has done that.
I think part of the problem is that there is definitely still a bigger collector mentality among a lot of anime fans in the U.S.
Well, I don't think there is at all. I think what's happening is they don't care about collecting, and they don't care about collecting so much that they don't want to even have anything, right?
Well,
they don't want to spend any money.
Well, they don't want to spend any money, but they still want stuff.
And they just want to read, they're sitting their computer or their phone. They don't want to have a book. They just want to read digitally.
Yeah, but
right?
also with anime, what I noticed is that once anime was just like we're in a golden age. I can just see like almost any anime I want online real cheap. And there's still a significant subset of nerds in the US who like make up excuses to continue to not pay for it when it costs almost nothing.
Well, there is a little bit of fragmentation going on in terms of different streaming services and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But manga has an even worse problem is that you go
Ask me where to go to read any given manga. Fuck if I know. I gotta like research.
Well, there's so many mangas, right? And then there's so many untranslated ones, right? And it's like most animes that you're gonna want to watch have, you know, the ones that you want to watch that haven't been brought over or licensed, or it's like are fewer and fewer percentage wise, right? You know, even some old school ones are like fully subbed and licensed and released, right? And like every episode of Galaxy Express 39 TV series you can get. It's like, whoa, right?
Yep.
Manga, there's so many, they will never will a significant portion, and they're produced so quickly, and there's so many of them. There will never be a significant portion that are translated to English until a computer can just do all of it at once.
Yep.
Right?
Which that day will come.
Yeah, maybe in our lives, who knows? But that means that there is still some real justification for scanslation of mangas that will never be in English, right?
Yeah, especially a lot of older stuff.
Right. I still, even to this day, support if you have a piece of artwork or media or anything, book, movie, whatever, and nobody is legally translating it from its original language into your language, whatever that language is, I feel it is not only morally accepted, but sort of almost not, you know, imperative, but like it is not only okay to do, but it is good to just do it as long as you're not like selling it.
So here's a problem too. There are pirate sites that sell a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Cheaper than official channels, or like even if they're not available in official channels, they're still selling it.
Right, and if you go to Google and you type in a manga you want to read, the pirate sites usually show up first.
And a lot of kids don't even know they're pirate sites.
Because they don't look like pirate sites.
Mangareader.net, is that one of the legal ones or one of the illegal ones?
Pretty sure that's illegal.
Because Sanctuary is here. This seems like it's the only place to read. I think I can read Sanctuary right now.
Yes, you can.
For free.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, shit, it's just Sanctuary.
Yep. And nobody's doing anything to take it down.
Pretty sure this is illegal.
I'm 99% sure that's an illegal site.
But here's the thing.
Like 100%.
Without doing research, I don't know. If I don't know, some 14-year-old weeb definitely doesn't know.
If you go to Google and you search, right?
It's
not.
I just want to read Sanctuary again.
Right. It's like if you go to Pirate Bay, right?
Like
and
you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. You realize you're buying an illegal thing. If you go to Amazon and you type in the name of a product and you buy it and a bootleg board game shows up at your door, which is a real thing, you don't know that you just bought a bootleg if you're not an expert, right? So if you go to Google and you type in the name of a manga you want to read, and there's a site that looks legit, works, lets you read the manga for free, is right there. It's like, it looks like a real site. Doesn't look like some site that's trying to hide something or makes you do any shenanigans, right? It feels like this is a legal and legit thing you're doing. Most people have no idea that they're doing that, so I don't blame them at all, right? You know, I know a lot of people who are anti-scanslation blame the people reading them, but like I don't. The vast majority of those people have no idea. They think that that's just how it is.
Yep.
Right? They don't know that this is some illegal thing or that there's a legal alternative.
Unlike with anime stuff, like because manga is still a much more fractured experience, and digital reading of things other than just books with text has definitely lagged behind watching video of things in terms of devices and like good support and good UX and all those things. There was this space that existed for manga to have a huge and thriving pirate industry that has significantly displaced the legitimate industry in the U.S.
Right. Well, I mean, also part of it is that even if you know it's illegal, if you don't have a lot of money, right, and you want to read One Piece, how many fucking volumes does One Piece have?
Yep. You're gonna buy a bunch of like
and even if you
$10
right, even if you buy One Piece omnibus editions that they put out, which are like several volumes in one, right? How much is one of those? How much does a One Piece omnibus edition cost?
I'm looking up right now. One Piece omnibus, 28 books. They are $11 each.
Right, so 11 times 28.
That's for a kid. That's a lot of money.
Right, kids can't afford it, but if it's free, right? That kid can read If you're a kid with free time on your hands, because you're a kid, you can read One Piece. You can read all of it. You can read all of it several times over, right?
Yep.
But you could never afford to buy all of it, right? Ever, right? So you're losing some money because that kid could afford to buy some One Piece, but right? The kid cannot afford to buy all the One Piece he can read, and that is just one manga.
But that
kid can read several One Pieces,
that's
right?
the other thing that happened in the manga space is that the proliferation of digital entertainment made it such that manga now competes with a lot of other things, like, for example, free-to-view video and free-to-play video
YouTube.
games.
You're competing with YouTube, which is free.
Yep.
Actually free.
I can go to YouTube and watch like an hour-long, perfectly cut Screams compilation, and for a 12-year-old kid, that is equally entertaining to One Piece. They're just looking for something to kill time.
So Japanese businesses, right, have, I always do the same comparison every time, but that's because it's true, right? You look at, say Korea, a very tiny country, but they put a lot of money into their music industry, which has a lot of problems.
Yep.
But one problem it doesn't have is becoming popular, because they freely spread their TV and their music and their movies all over the world on purpose.
However,
right? There is a YouTube channel that literally is an official channel of KBS, like the national TV channel of Korea, and they intentionally take their TV shows, put them up for free on YouTube with subtitles on purpose.
So,
NHK in Japan would never do something like that. They take that shit down everywhere.
Long term, though, even that former model is unsustainable in a late capitalist world without government subsidy of the arts to create the works.
Yes, well, but that's the thing, is I think Japan does have government subsidy of the arts. They have their whole Cool Japan government program, but that program still is not enough to get them to do the thing they need to do, which is to allow their art to spread around the world in bulk and at low price with freedom.
I suspect partly that like those initiatives are held back a little bit by the another goal of helping to monetize and protect the monetization of the internal healthy industry around this media.
Yes, you can definitely see
those are two mutually exclusive things in capitalism.
Exactly. You can see, the same business pattern in all sorts of Japanese companies' behavior, from Nintendo to music companies.
Yeah, Nintendo taking down live streams.
Right. All this you see that same mentality across, the Japanese businesses, especially related to the arts especially, right? All over, right? They have this sort of dual thing where they want the rest of the world to care about their art and think it's cool and be interested in Japan so they can make a lot of money by selling their culture, but they also do not want to widely and cheaply distribute. Right?
But there is another thing, a subtle thing that can happen, because we see the same thing with movies and TV. If you have a big enough back catalog of things you own that you can distribute, and you distribute that cheaply, those things are often new to people of a current generation.
Oh, yeah.
And that actually can take the monetization away from anything new being made.
Yep.
Like, it makes a really difficult situation.
Why would I buy a new, right? It's like the thousands of manga that you've written over the past 30 years. You put, if you make those available, that's enough manga for me to read in my whole life.
I've got all of Dr. Slump up there. I only made it like 5 volumes in.
Right. I don't need to read any new manga you make, right? But if you're in Japan and you can read Japanese, it's like, why go back and read old stuff? I can just read weekly. I can buy the giant magazine.
But that is a problem that's just generic to a modern world, where there's a lot of reasons why it's difficult to monetize or even to support the creation of new art.
Right. So I think what they should do and never will do, right, is they should make a Netflix-like service, right, that provides either free trial or some mangas free, some not, some subscription, right, something like that. But regardless of the details of it, in order for it to succeed, right, it has to have large quantity.
Well, Crunchyroll has a lot of manga. I can read it for free for 14 days.
Yes, but the Crunchyroll, the quantity of manga on Crunchyroll is not many titles.
It is. Those are the popular ones. There's a decent number here.
There's a decent number, but it is not like, vast, right?
So,
compared to the, right, here, that's that's all of them. That is not a large number. I mean...
Yep.
Right? I'm talking about like even just the Young magazine.
Well, no, so this is another problem. There's a difference between discoverability versus like interest.
Discoverability is a separate problem.
Yeah.
But the point is, regardless of discoverability in the system.
But I'm saying
right?
interest. Most people in America, like anime fans, other than like super fans who pay a lot of attention, they seem to want to read manga that they are told to, they find out about it because an anime was made about it.
Maybe.
Then they want to read the manga, like Attack on Titan.
Sure. But if you're going to charge, you're going to need to charge someone dollars per month or per year to access to this service, right? Even if you have, say you had a service that was literally all the popular mangas that had anime, but no other mangas, right? Maybe some people would pay for that kind of service, right? But that's not going to get people subscribing forever because they'll read all the kids. They would be able to read all those manga. And then, right? In order to get someone to pay, you need quantity, right? You need to have, hundreds or perhaps even thousands of titles in that library. Like, hey, pay us, $5 a month and you'll have access. You'll have a library of thousands of manga, every volume, all translated.
Oh, is mangareader.net safe and legal? No, it is not legal.
No.
I looked it up.
There you go. Obviously not. That is what you need, right? You need the low price, even if it's right, relatively low. It has to be cheaper than Netflix, I think, right? And because people value comics and manga less than they value like movies.
Yeah.
Right, as a thing.
Well, I mean, the relative valuation is a weird situation, especially in the U.S. right now, because people will flip the fuck out if you want them to pay like $10 for a video game that they play for 100 hours, yet they'll happily pay $20 to see an hour and 10-minute movie in a theater.
I think that's what's even crazier is people are happy to spend $15 to $20 to see a movie in a theater that's maybe even if it's a 3-hour movie, right? They'll pay $15 to see Star Wars, but an app that they will use every day of their lives on their phone, they will not pay $1. Only free apps for me. I won't pay $1 for an app, but they'll go to a movie for $15.
Which is partly the cancer of late capitalism, coupled with the cancer of free-to-play having skewed prices, coupled with media has not raised its prices in America at the same rate as inflation.
Well, wages also have not risen to
a AAA game in 2019 still costs $70, $80. A AAA game...
People can't afford more than that at once because their wages haven't risen.
But a AAA game in 1986 costs $70 to $80, $1986.
But you can trick people and milk them out of more.
Like $300.
You have to trick people into spending more than they can afford. You can't do that by charging the giant price up front. You need to do shenanigans like gambling, right?
Which again,
or you could charge a higher price if you raised wages.
Well, and also what we're
then people would say, I can't afford a $100 video game.
There's an even further undercurrent here. The manga industry, the anime industry is pretty exploitative. People don't make enough
Manga's
money.
way worse.
Manga is a fucked up situation in Japan.
Oh, yeah. If you're a manga artist, you work in crazy hours. You're getting paid like nothing, right? It's not good times. It is not a glamorous life whatsoever. And then on top of that, they're charging $4 for a magazine, and I guess splitting that $4 up between everybody in the magazine, which is a lot of manga artists.
I mean, you see this with like Spotify. How much money?
You better hope your tankobons sell like crazy, and your manga is super popular, or you're gonna be eating, not very good food.
Yep.
And living in a tiny, tiny cold place.
And the last time I saw any numbers about this stuff, like in the pre-digital, like the DVD days. I remember when I got some inside information when we were at RIT Anime, like we were working with some of the anime companies, and we found out how many copies of certain anime were actually sold to people in America and what was considered a success. And all I'm going to say is that those numbers were way lower than you would expect, even if you were pessimistic.
Well, those were in certain times.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm saying even in that time, I remember I saw this number for a recent popular anime, and they were like, "This is the best-selling anime of the year," and all I thought was, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, even comic books in the U.S., those $4 Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Right. It's like okay, like if Batman is hot, it'll maybe sell like tens of thousands of copies, in a week if Batman comes out, and that's like real good, tens of thousands in a country of hundreds of millions of people.
So I'll tell you what I want.
All right.
I would just like there be an app that works on tablets.
But mangas sell, way, way, way more than that.
If there were an app that just worked on tablets generally, like Android tablets and like just all kinds of tablets, and had a desktop version because I'm looking on my laptop or whatever.
It should work on every device I've got.
Yeah.
And it should synchronize between every device I've got so I can pick up where I left off.
Like a Kindle does, but don't tie it to Amazon, and also don't buy Amazon tablets. They're kind of shitty.
Yeah.
So, and I don't even need new manga. I actually would just want like a wide collection of classic old manga, like a wide selection, and that would do me. I would pay for that probably forever.
Right, as long as it's manga that is my style, right? You know, it's like
I'd go back and read like a whole bunch of ridiculous, lengthy nonsense.
He told us about a manga he worked on that failed about some girl who solves problems with her advanced knowledge of physics.
I thought you were going to say something very different because I was thinking of Matsukiki Musume.
No, he talked about this manga that was like a failure of his, and I was like, I want to read that manga. That sounds like the best manga I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Right? I want to read that right now. And it's like, that's the kind of obscuro manga that like started, ran a few chapters, was canceled, right? That you would find in a truly vast library. No one would ever pay for that. Wouldn't even pay $1 to read that. But I really want to read. Well, I would pay $1 to read it as long as it came with a zillion other manga to read.
The other way it could go that I would be okay with is the same reason why I balk so much at using other game stores than Steam, even though there's problems with monopolies. Because there's just one app where I can just like see and buy a bunch of stuff and that app is consistent. If there was an app where I could just buy almost any manga, even if I had to pay each time I wanted a different manga.
As long as the price was like a few cents or something.
Even if it was a few dollars.
Right, or even if it was like an Audible token system, like I think Audible is like that's like the audio. The book on the audio book.
What if it was like
where it's like you pay for this
app, you'll get like you can read up to 10 volumes of manga a month, and you can pay for more. Sure.
Right, it's like all right, you get 20 volumes a month. It's like I can only really read 20 volumes a month, so that sounds great.
But then you hook people by anything you've read stays in your catalog forever unless you stop paying the VIG.
Yep, sure.
I guess the subscription service, that wouldn't be a VIG because this is a legitimate business, but I digress.
Right, you know, it's whatever it is, right? You know, it's that's what they need. They need quantity, they need reach.
And
right?
we need to destroy capitalism so we can support artists actually making stuff.
Right. I need food.
I think we're good. Darling.